Welcome back to another episode of Excuse My Grandma. It's Kim and my co-host,
Grandma Gail.
Grandma, what is new with you?
What's doing with me? Well, not really very much. I've been sort of enjoying the warm weather since we're in Florida this week.
Yeah, well, I went back to New York for a few days.
I know, and you loved it. You had some nice weather up
yeah,
there.
New York is not dead, I will say.
No, I'm sure it's all coming back.
Yeah, like there was definitely, I haven't seen a lot of my friends there in a while since I've been down here with you. So it was really nice to do that, check on my apartment.
Which was good.
Yeah, well, I can't have any plants there right now because I don't go often enough to water them.
Yeah, well, they would die. That's it. So you'll hold off for another month and then you'll get some
but
new
everything
orchid
else
plants.
looked good. I'm trying to think, like, went to some of the classic restaurants I usually go to. Did I do anything super interesting?
Didn't you go down with your friend downtown to the where the World Trade Center was?
No, I was I was in like NoHo area. That's nowhere near there.
Oh, it's the end of the world.
Oh, I actually saw such a funny TikTok that was like, people are, they for Soho they say like south of Houston, right? So NoHo is north of Houston. Now are people going to start saying like, under the Upper East Side is like, what would it be? Low, UE, low. Oh, I don't know. Like, how many neighborhoods could you make up like that?
Oh, we have an awful lot of neighborhoods in New York. That's what's so wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
That's terrific about New York. You have different, and each one has their own personality and their own little cute restaurants and little shops.
Yeah.
And
it was nice to, and I went to Miami too for a day or two. Just for the day.
Oh, right.
So I've been bopping around. I needed a little bit to switch things up a little bit.
Well, I need to switch things up, so I'm going this weekend to New Orleans.
Yep.
So I'm going to have a little gumbo and some barbecue. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait.
And then we'll come back together because my birthday is coming up. So
which is a national event in your mind.
Right.
In your mind.
What do we want to do for the birthday episode? Last year for my birthday episode, we talked about getting texts from exes on your birthday and how like rattling that could be.
Okay.
Oh, you know what I actually wanted to discuss with you, speaking of?
What?
Like the concept on Instagram of like stories, because I don't think we've spoken about that before, and it's something that's so prevalent and mainstream with my friends, but maybe not your friends. Let me just show you. You open up Instagram on the top here. So going through an Instagram feed, you slide through like this.
Right. I don't know. I'm not on Instagram, so I don't know. So I'll look at yours.
This stuff is here forever. It's permanent.
Okay.
Unless somebody deletes it.
Okay.
Up here, stories go away after 24 hours, and people update those like every day, to show I'm eating this, I'm doing this.
Yeah, if they have nothing else to do, they're constantly talking about what they're doing.
Then, besides that, there's a close friend story.
Oh.
So it would be green around the outside, and that means that you're on that person's close friends. So they chose only, let's say, 50 of, let's say they have
look at their stories.
Yeah, because maybe they have 2,000 followers, but they don't want all those people looking at every photo. Well, so they'll add you to your close friends.
That's a good privacy thing. I think that's good.
So, yeah, I think it's good. I think it's interesting, though. So I was having this conversation with people they're like always posting on their stories after a breakup. Like, do they want their exes to see what they're up to nonstop? Like, what is the point of constantly posting on your story?
Well, I don't know. I find people who post about breakups pathetic.
No, not about breakups.
Well,
they're just posting. They just went through a breakup, but they're posting a lot. Like
maybe they want to get over it quickly, so they're trying to fill the void, and they're trying
to connect with more people.
Exactly. They've been out of circulation for a while, and they figure this way people will know that they're now back in the frame of things. With
so should you be on your ex's close friends, or should they take you off? Because I have some friends where they're still like on their. So when their ex posts on their close friends story, which is the select number of people, they could still see it.
I think this being with their ex is ridiculous. It's over. So why do you have to know what he or she is doing now? I mean, you know what? You wish them well, and it's not like you were arch enemies. If you see them on the street, you say hi.
But you're not going to unfollow them on Instagram.
Well, I wouldn't follow them. I think that's ridiculous. If you wanted to follow them, you should have stayed with them. I mean,
no, because I follow like my friends. It doesn't mean I'm romantically interested in the people that I follow.
All right. Well, if
but you can mute the posts, which we've talked about before, of like just, they won't know that you mute them, but it's just so they don't pop up every day.
Okay. All right. I wouldn't waste my time.
But what
there
if
are other things to do in life besides looking at your phone?
I know you think this, but it feels so important to us, and like it's what we've discussed with my friends. So it's not just like
but they better get better jobs then. They don't have very challenging jobs, but they're looking at their phone 24/7.
It's not that though. It's just like you come back from work and you open
that's different.
your phone and you see what people are doing. I don't think just because you use Instagram all the time means you don't have a life.
Well, I think
we use Instagram all the time.
We don't have a life.
That's not true. Well, I am spending my time watching a lot of TV. I just watched this Tinder swindler, and I know you're going to have thoughts on this.
Okay, what was the concept of this story?
Okay, basically, it's a true story.
All right.
The Tinder swindler. I think it like just happened in the last year or two or whatever. I think 2019 actually.
Okay.
And basically, this guy like he was on Tinder, the dating app, and would match with women, be very generous. He said he was the son of a diamond mogul, take them out, travel with them, this whole thing under a false identity, and charm them. And then about a month in, he would say, "My enemies are out to get me."
And I psychopath.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, but he would like pretend. He would take pictures of like his bodyguard beat up and be like, "My enemies are out to get me. Like, I need to just borrow your credit card."
Oh, this is a scam.
But he would fully date these women, like and be a boyfriend to them. So they were like, he's he needs my help. Like, I'll lend him my credit card while he's going through this. The guy would say, "It's only a week. Like, I just need to have money, like, and not be able to trace it to my name." He swindled $10 million from women across the country, across the globe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was like this whole thing. Anyway.
Did he end up in jail?
He was convicted and was only released after 5 months.
Okay.
And now, so he's Israeli.
Right.
And he was released, and now he's out there. He's still like posting stuff. I'm sure I don't know if he's back on Tinder, but
should be a way to put something on Tinder to show, well, maybe he doesn't use the same name.
Yeah. Well,
because you don't want people to fall for him again, because he's evidently
very convincing. His face is everywhere, so it couldn't happen.
Okay.
And basically one of the girls at the end, like, they figured out that this was happening and like switched it on him and got him arrested. She was like the hero in the end.
She was like a detective.
And so anyway, what's funny to me about this whole thing is, yes, it's like the danger of dating apps that this kind of thing can happen. But so the women at the end were like, "Oh yeah, I'm still on Tinder."
Yeah, because they liked it.
No, they didn't. They had to take loans out, $30,000 loans,
so
mortgage their homes.
Why are they going back?
They believe in love, and they think,
it's very
okay, this was a
sad.
bad thing, but like no one gave up on being on Tinder, which I thought was like,
well, good, lucky Tinder.
Interesting. Yeah, I know.
I mean, they're lucky.
I actually wonder if this is good or bad press for them.
I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's good press for them. It does not sound like a very healthy relationships were found through this Tinder app at this point.
You have to protect yourself online is the end of the story.
Right.
Like, I don't think it's something against dating apps. You could easily meet someone in a bar who does the same thing to you.
Absolutely.
I think it's more just like cross-referencing
and trying to figure out if anybody else knows the person you're going out with, so you can see if he has a history.
And don't like just lend money to people.
Well, that's the first thing. I mean, this is almost like a scam, like that. You know, that they take your credit card and they take the numbers off of something that you've used. I mean, this is just very sad.
Well, it's funny.
He was very tenacious because he got through to them by dating them, and they liked him, so they believed in him.
Well, they were all saying like it was like a fairy tale. He came in and he was like flying them off and doing these and extravagant
it was like a Ponzi. He would go from one
that's literally what it was. He would take one woman's money, spend it on the other woman, that woman's money, and spend it on another woman. Right. It was literally a Ponzi scheme.
Oh wow.
But yeah, they actually, one of the girls, it was like, I grew up on Disney. and romantic and 1950s romantic comedies, and I thought this was a fantasy.
Well, I always tell you this, Kim. These fantasies were made up in Hollywood. It's not reality. Yeah. So you have to and everybody should be a little careful in today's world, because people are, not some people are just not. There are a lot of bad people out there, so we have to protect ourselves a little.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. And I don't know, are you watching any other shows?
I'm watching a very good show, The Gilded Age.
I need to start it. I've heard.
My gosh, it's beautiful. It takes place in the late 1890s. It's all about the robber barons and the Carnegies, the Mellons. Of course, it's fictitious, but it's based on those actual stories, and it's really entertaining. Stars are good. The acting is good.
Mm-hmm. The other show everyone's talking about, I haven't started it yet, is Inventing Anna. About Anna Sorkin.
Yeah, they said that was very good. Somebody was talking about that last night.
Those are like the 3 shows everyone's talking about.
All right. Well, very good.
And then they did a trailer for Bridgerton season 2.
Oh, really? Yeah, but the love of my life isn't going to be in there. So I'm not so sure if I'm going to like it the second season, but I'll try it.
Yeah, we'll see. So this week on the podcast, we have Carrie Nachmani. She is the mom of Something Navy, Ariel Charnas, the influencer that, honestly, at this point, if you know influencers, you probably know who she is. She was kind of the first one to do that in fashion in New York, and people talk about her all the time, and she's a very public figure at this point. Her sisters are also influencers, and you guys probably know because she posts all the time with her husband and her kids, who are adorable. Grandma, you've obviously don't have Instagram, so you never follow them, but most people who are on Instagram. No, yes, they have Instagram, but the ones on Instagram, they probably follow her if they follow any influencer.
Well, I actually like the mom. Carrie has her own Instagram account where she develops different recipes for her viewers, and she's a really, really nice person, and I think everybody who's going to listen to the podcast will really enjoy her.
She also wrote a few cookbooks online. And she sells her eggplant in Butterfields in New York City.
Which all of my friends buy that eggplant parmesan.
Mm-hmm. So is it pre-cooked and you heat it up?
No, it's cooked. It's pre-cooked.
Yeah.
And her recipe is fabulous. I didn't realize when I was eating it, it was this lady's recipe.
We've been trying to make our own cooking videos on TikTok.
And it's not easy. It really isn't.
We did like a Super Bowl guacamole,
which was good.
We did a salad.
The salad was very hard because we were chopping like for 20 minutes. You had so many ingredients in the salad, but it was good at the end. Mm-hmm. We borrowed that from the Melissa Cupcake lady.
Yeah, baked by Melissa.
Yeah.
So I asked our Instagram followers if they like when we make cooking videos, and they all said. It was like, 95% said they like it. So I think we could continue with that.
Well, we can continue because we make it on the easier. We're really doing it easier than the actual recipe. We sort of cut out a lot of the steps.
Yeah. Well, also our thing kind of is that like I'm not very good at
cooking for simpletons.
Yeah. That's what we should brand it
We should brand it. That could be our cookbook. We're simple and the recipes are simple.
Yeah. Simple-minded folk who have too much time, so they go on Instagram.
Exactly. But she's terrific in her own right. She is a chef. She's very, very nice. And I think all our listeners will like hearing about her story.
Carrie, thank you so much for joining us on Excuse My Grandma today. Share with us where you're from, your relationship status, and how many kids and grandkids you have.
Hi. So it's always my pleasure to share. So I'm the mom of 3 daughters, and I have 4 granddaughters and 2 coming on the way.
Okay, we're going to get a grandson, maybe.
2.
Oh, good. Congratulations. So you'll have, that's wonderful. Very good.
I had no idea, but I heard boys could be nice too.
Oh, they're great fun. Great fun. You'll be busy going all the games.
I've heard that also. So it's basically my 3 daughters were married in 4 years. Everything just, with all, just happened very close together. And now we'll have like 6 grandchildren in 6 years.
It's great.
It's been like just, you don't really have time to stop and just take it all in.
Yeah. When they were growing up and dating and stuff, since this is a dating podcast, did you ever give them relationship advice? I'm sure you're so happy now to have such a big family and the way it all turned out in the end.
Of course. No, it was, the think about the advice, with giving with girls, teenagers. I mean, first of all, it was so different than it is today. It wasn't like it was in social media. They were still meeting boys at school and parties and, all of those types of things. But I think having the three girls, they kind of more had each other than coming to me.
Mm-hmm. How old are the girls? May I ask?
Well, now they're all in their 30s.
Right. Okay. So they're young.
But they were all like 3 years apart growing up, and they were like one unit.
Oh, that's so nice.
It was nice, but I was the outcast. You always had like your little tidbits of advice that I would always try and slip in there where they didn't really know I was giving it, but it sunk in.
Right.
Like that guy said what? And you stood there? Or like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. And then the next day it was over.
Oh, so you never explicitly would say break up with this person.
Exactly. Because you could never be responsible for that, but you would just kind of give them the tools to make your idea of the right decision.
Right. Correct. So then when they brought their husbands home, did you know right away, like, oh, this is the right one?
No, because they all, they all did not stick with their first, choice.
Right.
With their first, relationship. My youngest daughter married her high school sweetheart.
Okay, so that was easy.
That was easy, and it was so easy because I always liked him.
Right, right. That makes it very, very nice.
I never expected him to be the one that made it through.
Right.
But it was. I learned a lot watching them.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yeah, and
it's so different, like what I know that you talk about from like, my own personal experience. I'm married over 40 years. Mm-hmm. Today, people are like, look like I'm something out of, that's just not real.
Yeah.
Well, I'm married 58 years. So what am I going to say?
I love it. And look at the same smile.
The same guy. So you know what? It is really something compared to
it's a rarity, right?
It's a rarity. That is correct.
How did you meet your husband?
So my husband is from Israel. So it was, he had just come here, not really having much of, any ground, anything. And I was dating one of his good friends.
See,
this happens a lot.
See, this is what I say, that sometimes works out.
Listen, I mean, it sounds a little bit cliche, but I married my best friend.
Oh, that's very nice.
Well, the reason also I think that, so we have this discussion a lot of like breaking girl code, but in that situation, like this wasn't your friend, it was a guy you were dating. So really one of them, they were breaking bro code, which I don't think matters that much.
I have too many rules.
And they think differently. There was no code.
Yeah.
Right. There was they weren't upset.
They just, and it wasn't like anything like, sneaky or anything. One relationship ended with his friend who cheated on me and moved to LA.
Okay.
I mean, and I stayed friends with his best friend, who I set up with my roommate. I set up with my cousin.
But you,
we shared all of that for a good 2 years before we looked at each other.
Said, let's go together.
And said, wait, what's missing there? What's missing there? And before you know it, you realize, what? You got what I'm looking for.
Right. Oh, I love that.
That's very good. I like it too.
That's so cute.
So then I proposed.
You did? How did that happen?
I just said, if you're, then let's, we were at it was just an incredible.
How old were you, may I ask, at that
22.
time? Yeah. Okay. So
that's
you were young.
young.
Well, yeah, but we all got married young. I mean, Carrie's much younger than I am, but that was the norm to get married.
My mother was already like, what is taking you so long?
Wow.
That is what happened.
Yeah.
I told you the old maid syndrome at 25. People used to say, oh my gosh, you're not married yet.
So
very different, right? But we like career and sense of self, all of those were not what it is today.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about your career as well. To just go back a little bit, for those who don't know, your daughters are big influencers. Ariel, I feel like, was the first influencer that I even ever heard of. And
she's the OG.
Yes, original.
Okay. All right. Okay.
She taught me that one too. So
how do you feel like that changed everybody's lives in your whole family, including your own?
Well, social media just in itself has changed, I think, everybody's life, at least who's involved in it. I mean, I'd say the majority of my friends still don't even look at social media.
That's right. That's right.
You know,
it's a young person's
Well,
venue.
do you feel, Carrie, that like they should be? Like, do you think that they would gain a lot from that?
You know, I can't really speak for, because some people make it that, you know, they just don't get it the same way. You
they're
know,
they're not comfortable with how it works. You don't understand that. It's because it's so ingrained in all of your friends and your, you know, your generation, that anybody over 50 has a hard time. They have to really make a concerted effort to figure it out.
And I guess they find that, you know, frustrating. So you kind of push it away, and you just, you know, podcast, you know, people, what is it? Like, I'm not listening to, I'm like, why not?
Yeah. Well, I've got a whole group of friends now that listen to the podcast.
At the first podcast they've ever listened to.
Yes. And they listen to it every week.
And they must feel really good about that, because this is the way that it's going. And so for us, we have kids that care enough to share their lives with us and want to bring us along. Either get on the train,
right, or you're left behind,
or you're just still behind.
That's right. So true.
You know, it's I find it, you know, it's very inspiring for me.
Yeah. So what would you tell your friends, or even people you don't know who aren't comfortable with social media, about like how they can approach that? Would you say talk to your kids or grandkids about it, try to get them to show you?
100%, or anybody who's a little bit more savvy, and to find out, especially in areas that are of interest to you. You know, if, you know, for me, like say it was cooking, I would like to share other sites or other accounts that have interesting, and then all of a sudden they're like, wow, did you see what she was making? Yeah,
you connect with other people.
I mean, if I make a dish that I say is Turkish, somebody's writing me from Turkey and telling me how their grandmother twisted that recipe.
I love it.
You know, that's so motivating for me.
So let's talk about how you started Carrie's Table, your Instagram. Did your daughters help you with that at all? Or
my daughters did it.
And so then when did you really feel like, oh my gosh, I can make this my own thing, kind of take over and post what you want to post?
Well, you know, I guess it's been about 5 years already. And it really started with food, because we keep Shabbat, which is a major meal for my family that just always brought us together. And I love to cook. So these Shabbat dinners, when my friends were able to start to bring their friends over and their couple friends over, and all of a sudden people were really going gaga over these meals. I didn't know how rare it was to have home cooked meals.
In this day and age, it is.
In this, you know, with all of your kids and their friends who go to restaurants, and, you know, and just being so blown away and taking pictures of it. And people wanted to know what I was making. Was just, you want to know what I'm making?
Yeah.
What influences did your cooking take on in the beginning? Is it a Middle Eastern? Is it a European? Oh,
it's, you know, I honestly, and I tell people all the time, I never cooked a day in my life until I got married.
Right.
Had no reference.
Married at 22,
yes.
so
yes, that's true. But I did live alone for many years before that with school. But yeah. It was not something that I grew up with. It was not something I thought about. My husband's mother is from Morocco.
Oh, cool. I love
That's
it.
Your favorite
it's
trip.
My favorite place. It's so I was there a few years ago. It's just
how incredible. So my husband's family, they're from Fez and from Casablanca, and we were fortunate enough to make that trip. and just to get those recipes.
Wow.
And they do great with the vegetables. Somehow they make things that taste so different. And
So
I'm sure your recipes reflect a lot of that. And unless you taste it.
And the colors and the spices. And we're, again, fortunate enough, we're in Israel every year. And we go to different, ethnic restaurants all the time. And I always love to meet the chefs there, and they always give me. So to bring it back and to incorporate it into my food has just brought me all of this attention. And I've been like thriving on it.
It's great. And now it's funny when you say Israel, because I remember Israel, the food was so bad that you couldn't eat the food in the 70s. Now it's become a mecca. For chefs, for chefs.
One of the hottest spots.
Correct.
For the chefs are all coming out of Tel Aviv now.
They've got them. My grandson goes to one in New Orleans. He's a famous chef, an Israeli chef. So they're really, it's really a whole other world. It really is terrific. And now, what are your favorite dishes to make? Because this is Kimmy's a date, and she's, they like to do date nights at home. What would be an easy recipe for young people to try at home?
Oh, I have so many.
That you love.
I mean, my eggplant parmesan. Which is being sold at Butterfield's.
Oh,
because it's
delicious. I've had
it. Well, that's my recipe,
it's
and
fabulous.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Your recipe, or are you making it for them?
Both.
Oh my! It's great.
So, and it's simple. There's like 3 ingredients.
Good to know.
And I'm telling you, anybody that tastes that, they're going to be at your feet.
You got to get this on her ebook.
I'm telling you, because I'm not a chef. I'm not a trained chef. I didn't go to culinary school. It's simple. It's just sometimes it's what we call a pachka.
Do you do this in your kitchen at home?
I do, but for Butterfields, they have a commercial kitchen that they let me use.
Oh, I'm sure. Up in the 80s, I know.
Yes. Yeah. For those who don't know, it's like on the Upper East Side in Manhattan. So you have 3 ebooks now. Are most of the recipes from there things that you actually make at home, or did you create any new ones for those books?
Well, they're all recipes that I create at home and I might expand on. I am not a by the book person in any way, shape, or form. And I have a lot of, my husband likes a lot of those Mediterranean, more healthy meals that I always cook, but I love cream and sauce and cheese.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of pastas, things that are more heavy and rich. And my daughters have gone through so many different food, phases. One year they were all vegetarian, so I have a lot of vegetarian recipes. It pushes me to get creative in different areas.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like my mom had that during the pandemic when I was living at home, because I was pescatarian for a while.
Oh, we did that one.
Yeah. I'm sure.
I had to look it up before I knew what to buy.
Yeah, that's so funny. And I see it all the time on social media. Your grandkids are such good eaters. Like, a lot of young kids are very picky. So how did you or do you have advice for people how to get your kids or grandkids to eat?
Honestly, you would have to ask my daughters, because when I pick them up from school, I'm like, let's go to William Greenberg and get their black and white cookies. Yeah. And she's like, but I have kale chips.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, what?
Well, then that's your daughter's influence.
Totally.
They're not getting that anywhere else, because
my kids try, don't give her that.
Right.
My Paz is almost a year old. We were there the other day and we're eating cake. And I'm like, let her, she's like, you cannot give her cake. I'm like, why not?
Right.
Oh, it's hard, especially because I feel like if you're the one who gives cake, you're going to be the favorite grandma. They're always going to want to go see.
That's the idea.
Exactly.
What do you think?
Yeah.
That's what's the best thing about being a grandma.
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like over time, it's so interesting how kids eat have really changed. Because when I was younger, late 90s, we were eating Entenmann's cakes and McDonald's. It was super unhealthy. And then in the last, I feel like, I don't even know, 10, 15 years,
not even 15.
Probably less, 5 to 10 years.
Right.
people are way healthier now, and I think it's good, but I feel like you're very much one of like,
I'm a throwback. I still like the Entenmann's cakes, and I like my
pecan
pizza,
swirls,
pecan swirls. I'm still into Hostess cupcakes.
That's funny.
So-
That I mean,
and you never, and you know what? You'll never die from one. It's when people only eat that way, that's bad. But I mean, you know, a little bit of the 50s and 60s still has to come into our lives.
a little balance.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Thanks,
balance. But,
Carrie,
but
balance.
honestly, when my kids were little, I was pretty strict about what I was making. I was because I was kind of brought up on Entenmann's and Chef Boyardee
Yeah.
and Swanson's TV dinners.
Right.
So I swore that I would never give that to never did, no McDonald's, none of it.
Yeah.
Well, you see on what's going on now with the delivery services that deliver all these meals, because unfortunately, a lot of people who work can't go out and shop like certainly like I did, and pick through a supermarket or a grocery store. So they have these things delivered to your home, and that you can really specify. It comes with the vegetables, it comes with all the healthy foods. It's marvelous what they can, you know, now everybody delivers everything all over the country, and we are so lucky to have that. And
It is.
we are trying to choose healthier diets, so not to be the most obese nation in the world, which we are. Because, and I think a lot of it has to do with fast foods. We're just, you know, we've become addicted to it. It's cheap, and families who can't afford to eat properly go for the McDonald's, go for the Jack in the Box, go for all that. And it's just the nature of what's happening.
I agree.
And of course, in all of this, fitness is very important as well. I know that, Carrie, you are very into working out. You look great. Love following your videos and stuff on Instagram. How do you think being fit is actually helpful with being a grandma? Like, do you feel like you have more energy to play with your grandkids and do things with them?
I feel like being fit is critical to everything. I am the greatest advocate for working out and for, you know, whatever it is that you're doing, as long as you're moving every day. I think it's imperative for your health, your mental state, physical state, energy, every level of that. I try seriously to do something almost every day.
Well, we love to, at the end of our episode, ask what our guest's relationship with their own grandmother was, and if she ever gave any advice to you in any way.
Well, you talk about a throwback. My grandma, my bubby, is from Czechoslovakia, a Holocaust survivor. I don't think she spoke English. And I don't think there was anyone that I loved or loved me more.
Well, that's
never left her apartment. And it's just crazy because you never really stop to think back about those relationships and who had that impact on you. And I really think that, and she used to make everything like by hand, you know, bread, she'd roll out Lukshin, which are like noodles. And whatever I would do, whenever I would sit and eat, she'd speak to me in Yiddish, which maybe I understood half of.
Yeah.
And she would stroke my head.
Aww.
Like, and Yiddish saying like S mamala, like it made her, and that's really how I feel.
Right. Well, that was a feeling. And I had a similar grandma, and she would grind the fish for gefilte fish.
Yes.
Her own fish in her own. I used to watch her do it, and I used to say, Grandma, the fish man will do it for you. Don't have to do that yourself. And she said, no, she was doing it. So, I mean, I understand, Carrie, exactly what you're saying. And I think what happens is you have that feeling and you've transported it to your children.
That's what stays with you.
Correct. It's not the big stuff. It's the little things that you really carry on.
It's the way they make you feel that you remember.
Right. Right.
I love that. I feel like that's a thing that definitely most grandparents can kind of have and feel like is important to give down to their kids and their
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky, yeah.
Right.
And I think that's also for those who listen to us and maybe don't have that relationship with their grandma, they see it and they remember it.
Right.
And I think that's like the most rewarding thing in doing this, for sure.
I agree.
We're getting a lot of grandma questions.
So true.
To end out the episode, we play with all of our guests Grandma Gail's old-fashioned dating quiz, where we go through a few different scenarios, and we will deem whether hypothetically you're more of a traditional old-fashioned dater or more of a modern dater.
Okay.
And you don't have to, you just make it up.
Let's see.
Okay. So the first one is, would you rather get a call or a text message from your partner?
A call.
Okay. Would you ever sleep with someone on the first date?
No.
Dating apps or setups?
Setups.
Would you move in together before getting engaged or wait until you're engaged to move in?
I'd like to be engaged.
Okay. And should one person in the relationship pay for the date or for dinner, or do you prefer alternating?
Alternating.
Okay. So 4 out of 5
Go
traditional.
with me.
So you're a traditional dater, Carrie.
Oh, hooray. And it's worked for her.
Yep.
It's a good thing I'm not out there.
It is hard. Well, Carrie, thank you so much for joining us today. Can you tell our listeners how they can follow you and maybe look at your cookbooks?
Sure. It's Carrie's Table, CarriesTable. And just follow along. It's just some days it's about food, some days it's about my daughter's granddaughter. It's always something going on.
Hope you guys enjoyed the episode with Carrie. Okay, you guys know how to follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Excuse My Grandma. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple and Spotify. Tell your friends about it. And we will see you next week.